Welcome to the Functional Health Coaching Show, where we are here to support and answer your questions so that you can help people on a deeper level get real results and grow your health coaching business. Do you have questions you want to ask live on the show? You can call in every Friday at 2 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 1-347-637-1378. Are you looking to increase your credibility and grow your health coaching business using functional lab testing and data-driven protocols so that you can confidently solve health issues? Well, we have the course for you. Go to fdn.today/show to learn more and sign up today. Okay, let's join today's episode.
Well, hey guys, happy Friday. Hopefully we are on air here. Hope so. We had a little tech difficulty there on Blog Talk, so you guys are still trying to dial in to get in. Keep trying. I think we'll be in good shape, but hopefully you've tuned in for the FDN Fantastic Friday Call, otherwise known as the Functional Health Coaching Show. Back with you guys again. It's June 19th, 2020, and hope the week's been great. I'm your host, Brandon Mollet, co-host Ryan Monahan. We'll be on here in just a second. I'll just double check to make sure he's there. Ryan, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
There we go. All right, good. I've got you. Tremendous.
Awesome.
All right. we're kind of scrambling there for a minute, weren't we? We weren't able to get into the call.
Some kind of strange technical difficulty, yeah, but we're in.
We're in. We're good. Awesome. Well, again, thanks guys for tuning in with us, and it should be being recorded. So if you're listening at a different time other than June 20th or 19th, 2020 at 1 p.m. Central Time, hello from the past. All right, well, number is, if you'd like to call in and say something or make a comment or ask a question, that's what we're going to do this week. The number to do that is 347-637-1378. Again, 347-637-1378. And I do see some of you guys lining up there on the call, so welcome to the call. Thanks for tuning in. All right. Well, last week had a great guest. Talked a little more on the business side, on the onboarding side, and the marketing side, kind of all of those things together. Always good topics to listen to and talk about. Very pertinent to what we do here. FDN, part of this course is a business course. There's business aspects to it. It is a course on lab testing and protocols and coaching and working with clients to make major changes with their physiology and the function of their body. But a whole lot of business woven into that as well, a lot of psychology. So enjoyed our call last week there with Julia going through her detox program, but we also just talked a lot of business, just general good tidbits, things like that, like Ryan and I often get into and you guys ask about. So you can be an awesome practitioner, but you have to have people to work with and to help. So it is a very important part. So balance your education there. Yes, we got to learn how to do the work, but also how to attract people and how to be able to talk to people about what you do and why they want to make that big jump and that big change. So it's super worth it, as we know. All right. Well, just a couple announcements here, and then we'll hit some questions here today. You guys, again, are welcome to hit 1 on your keypad, and I'll know that you want to come on, and I'll call out your area code and give me your name, and then ask a question or two, and we'll just do as much Q&A as we can this week. All right, so announcement-wise, just you guys keep in mind the FDN Rock Conference is full steam ahead. So FDN Conference 2020, October 23rd to the 25th in San Diego. We're solidifying more and more speakers as we go. You guys will get some emails and announcements about that. It's going to be a great time no matter what we have to do. So I don't think it's going to have to be virtual. I don't hope so. But any kind of face-to-face, as close face-to-face as we can get, I'm going to appreciate it. So going to be a good trip. You guys plan for that. You can come as a member of the general public, or you're looking at taking this course. If you're a trainee, obviously, definitely learn there at the course or the conference. And if you're a graduate, of course, come hang out with your colleagues, other professionals doing this work. So FDNconference.com is the website. You guys can check it out, get details there. And don't forget about the trainee study hour, a couple hours before this for trainees there. It's a Zoom call. Jump on there and ask questions. Reed and I are on every other Wednesday to answer questions as well, and we're doing a Zoom call also. So a lot of access one-on-one to us, helping you move through the course as quickly and efficiently and easily as you can. So keep in mind those avenues of support. And then I want to congratulate a bunch of graduates. This is a big week for graduates, so this is just tremendous. We always like to acknowledge graduates of the course and those who have certified and are ready to roll to help people do what we do here, be part of the community, part of our FDN family. It's really a tremendous thing that we get to do each week. So I've got 8 that I want to say congratulations to, and we're scattered throughout the world again this week, which is really cool. It's tremendous, and everybody has their story and their history and their love for this kind of work and to help people. Wish we had time just to give a quick bio and just tell a little bit about each person that graduates. People have their own privacy aspects of that, so I'll limit what I say, but this has really been a tremendous week for graduates, and so we want to say a major congratulations to the following. We've got Christine Chassi from Maine, and then Luba Vitti, and she's from Los Angeles, California. Kim Bradshaw, Houston, Texas. Heather Cohen, she's from Arizona. Denise Loxon in California also. Jennifer Osterman, California as well. Artu Takala, he is originally from Finland, if you can't tell from the name, but in San Jose right now. And then finally, we have Simona Parkerar. I'm trying to get it right, Simona. Parkerar. Okay, Simona, that's all we need. You get to go by one name. You don't have to have a last name. There's only one Simona that I know. So Simona, and she's amazing, from Romania. That's just tremendous, guys. So, guys, congratulations, and proud to have you as colleagues. What do you think, Ryan?
Congratulations, everybody. Super proud of y'all. It's awesome.
It's pretty cool. So the journey that they have started, how great. So, all right. Well, we can definitely jump into some questions here, but Ryan, I thought I'd check in with you to see how things are in your world as you're probably doing, I think, probably some more consultations and helping out with AFDNP, answering some questions. So how's the tribe doing?
I have been keeping busy, I can tell you that. I just dove right in the deep end, but in a good way. I'm loving it. So, yeah, it's been about a month now that I've been doing clinical advisory consults, and it's also been fun to speak with FDNs as far across the globe as Australia even. So that's pretty neat. Mm-hmm. And so oftentimes when it's afternoon here, they're just waking up. Which is good for me because I'm not I would not characterize myself as a morning person. so better them than me.
Yes.
Yep. So been busy monitoring the AFDNP group, answering clinical questions, doing the Friday call, and I've also started doing a new segment with Jennifer, who is our new fearless AFDNP director, called Quick and Nerdy. And yes, I did come up with that name. And really the idea came out of a desire to create kind of like almost like a shorter detective hour format where we can squeeze in a quick clinical tip or a quick case study in about 20 or 30 minutes as opposed to an hour for those that don't necessarily have the time to sit down and watch those hour-long detective hours. And those will be published, too, right in the AFDNP Facebook group rather than having to log into the portal to view them, which will be convenient. So the first one we did last week was on H. pylori, just a general overview of H. pylori, how to address it from a functional perspective, what makes someone an ideal host to begin with, right? Like, why does this individual have this particular infection to begin with, right? Like, in many cases, it's stress and suppressed immune function and dysbiosis and those sorts of environmental factors that can lead one towards being more susceptible to infection. And then this coming Tuesday, we're going to do our second installment of Quick and Nerdy, and that will also be on H. pylori, but this time it will be more geared towards clinical application. So we're actually going to take a case study that an FDN shared with us. So it's a really complex case, actually. It'll be interesting to try to squeeze that into 30 minutes. I'm going to try to just hit maybe 5 or 6 highlights in terms of healing opportunities. But yeah, we'll be discussing, how to implement some of these strategies if you see H. pylori come up on your lab work.
I love it. That sounds great. We're hitting this. I think we're coming at you more frequently than we ever have. It sounds like with trainee support, AFDNP, pretty cool. We can do that virtually and support you guys, and I love it. More information, the merrier, and also the clinical application of things. So, yeah, you guys take advantage of those things. And again, wherever you are in the course, if you're a trainee, okay, look at all the support you have there. As a graduate there and member of AFDNP, all the training and support there. If you're not a member of AFDNP as a graduate and you're doing this professionally, I'm saying you're probably missing out on a lot of support that can help catapult you, get you there a little faster, improve things that you're doing. So look into it, become a member, be part of that amazing group. You'll learn things. You'll add to the community also. Just your energy and your spirit and who you are add to that group of people, all of those things coming together. It's been an amazing transformation from the beginning, the infancy at the start, and the idea there of AFDNP to where it is now. It's just tremendous. So we have a lot of people to thank for that time and effort put into there to make that what it is. So if you don't know about it, you need to go FDN Connect there and click on there, join AFDNP, and check it out, get some information about it. I'm not sure I guess Jennifer's probably available for questions, or somebody is, so we'll let you know what's a part of, but super great value for sure, definitely. So check it out.
I would just like to shout out to Jennifer Woodward, too, as our new director. I think she's doing an awesome job. And I've had a few conversations with her just one-on-one, and I know she has big plans for the group, and that her goal is to make the AFDNP membership a no-brainer, investment for people. And I won't go into any specifics because a lot of things are still in the works, of course, but y'all need to get on that AFDNP train now that we're doing the Quick and Nerdy segment, and there's just going to be all kinds of incentives to be joining the group in the upcoming future.
Very good. Want you guys to succeed. We don't want you to have questions and not know where to go and what to do. It's being successful in protocols, results for people, and again on the business side as well. You've got all those components coming together. Everybody's happy that way. So, love it.
Yep. And
okay.
I've always loved the ability in the AFDNP group to be able to crowdsource knowledge, and if you have a clinical question, to be able to just type in hashtag clinic and have your answer addressed in a timely manner. And that is something that, for me, has always been invaluable when I've been stuck. And I still don't know everything, right? So I'm still in there asking questions too. But, just being able to ask those questions when I have a tough case and getting, 10 or 20 really in-depth, thorough answers from the hive is just incredibly invaluable.
It is. It's worth membership cost alone just for that quick access to questions. That's something that's not really, that's kind of unheard of, right? To have that kind of access and that kind of quick response. And I mean, what's an hour of your time worth researching to try to find that answer, looking back through things when you can get the answer direct? And that's pretty cool. So think of it that way. Time is money. Time is very valuable. It's one thing we can't get back. We can make more money, but time we can't.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Good deal. Awesome. Yeah, thanks for reminding me about that. All right. Well, let's see here. You guys, lots of guys on the call there today. Thanks for tuning in on your Friday. Summertime here in Kentucky, so loving it. And garden's growing and sunny and bright, and so glad. I'm a warm weather person, that's for sure. So enjoying this time right now, and a lot of growth with everything within the course, within people wanting to work on their health. It's been great. I've seen lots of reports of people coming on, people having no problem having clients. So in spite of everything going on, people still value their health. It's one of the highest things that we value, and hopefully the people that you talk to do as well. That's the key, right? You want people have to value their health. That's who you want to be working with. So those people are out there. So get out there yourself, talk to people, bring those people in, and help change your life. All right, well, let's answer some questions here. So I'll open the phone lines up there for questions. If you guys want to hit 1 on the keypad, again, 347-637-1378 is that number. And again, hit 1 on the keypad. You can come on and ask a question. Otherwise, I think we'll jump into one right here. Had a few H. pylori questions, but we'll save those for later. I think Ryan's probably tired of talking about H. pylori for a few days. You guys can refer to the quick and nerdy.
It needs to be the hot topic. Yeah,
it is. Well, it's there a lot. It's a big blocking factor, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll talk a little bit about diet here a little bit. So question is, this is from the trainee forum. Is there a test or a protocol for determining the best ratios of macros for a person, or is it just trial and error? I was going through the DRESS protocols and blood sugar being affected by macronutrient ratios. All it says is that when you get it right, you will know. But is there a way to know what a person's body... Is there a way to know what a person's body does best with? All right, so I'm thinking this person maybe hasn't gotten to the metabolic typing part of the course. And so there's a test that gets you a whole lot of the way there, determining macronutrient ratios. So basically when you're looking at diet for a person, fine-tuning, find that perfect diet for somebody, it's going to start out, number 1, with whole, good quality, best quality you can get food, right? So we've got to eat whole food. That's number 1. And then using some sort of elimination diet, either some just statistical elimination diet, I'd call it. So, hey, most people do good without gluten and dairy, all the way up to doing a food sensitivity test. You want to remove foods that could be inflammatory for their system, right? So their body doesn't digest it well, causes an inflammatory response or an immune system response. You want to remove those foods from the diet. And the third big component there is to talk about macronutrients. So within the context of what you know about that person with the 2 aforementioned aspects of this, you want to determine ultimately how much fat, proteins, and carbohydrate percentage-wise with every meal and snack they need to run most efficiently. And that is done, the simplest way to start there is the metabolic typing test. So what that test will do, that questionnaire is pretty amazing. It will, once you answer all those questions, it will spit out an answer for you as far as what you at the time, what your metabolic type is, where you fall in this. And that allows you to have a jumping off point to start working with your client to fine-tune it. Now, the fine-tuning process is something that is more of a trial and error, an observation. I know there are some cool technology devices. I've seen them out, different things. Ryan can maybe get into that some. There are some things you can do that maybe give you a feel for some aspect of metabolism. If you're, in ketosis, how well you're burning fats or carbs. There's some tech out there. But really, I think one of the best things to do is the fine-tuning process through observation, because that's something the person can take and use forever. It's not a consumable. It's something that you can just use every time you eat or drink something or take a supplement or do whatever. That learning process of listening to the body, super key. That's a big thing. If that's the only thing you accomplish working with somebody, then that's probably worth the cost of admission there, is them learning to listen to their body and know what works for them. So as far as the fine-tuning aspects go of metabolic typing, so once you know your type, then you need to figure out how that food and those ratios work for that person. So let's say the person is more on the protein side. That's the side I'm more familiar with. So that person's going to have usually a kind of a hotter fire, we'd say, inside. So if you put a bunch of leaves on fire or paper on a big fire, a bonfire, what's going to happen? Real quick, that fire is going to eat up that paper, and big quick release of energy and heat, and then nothing, right? So, okay, kind of flash in the pan there. We didn't get very far. So if that person's a protein type there, that person's got to have more protein and fat, because that's heavier foods, like like a big log or some big limbs or something on that fire. A bunch of paper, a bunch of leaves is going to burn up very quickly. So you quickly know that person is going to be on that side of things. They're not going to do well on a whole bunch of carbs. They're going to need some more fat and some more protein. So you have a basic feel for where they land. Beyond that, that's where the fine-tuning process comes in. So with a protein type, the easiest thing to do is to go very, very low carb for a few days, generally. Let's say generalities here. Go really low carb, higher on the fat, higher the protein. Over the next few days there, slowly increase the amount of percentage of carbohydrate and find that perfect amount that runs that body well. That person might find cutting out carbs for 3 or 4 days, they might feel tremendously better. I've had clients that had amazing turnarounds in energy and mood and sleep and weight just by cutting those carbs down. We don't have to go super low carb. Metabolic typing is not keto. It's not a low carb diet necessarily. It depends on your type. But you want to start working back up that percentage of carbohydrate until you hit a point to where you don't feel like good anymore. It's kind of simple as that. Then you can back down. You sort of find that nice point. So go extreme one direction within that protein type. We'll say extreme within protein type. That one direction. Go extreme the other direction. And then you find somewhere in the middle. And that's where you say, okay, this is about where I feel like I need to be eating. So it's very much listening to the body. And the way to evaluate this, simple things I use with people say, oh, is this meal good for me or not? How do I evaluate that? So 4 things you want to think about when you're evaluating how a meal does for you. You can think about it about maybe, usually Bill Wolcott would say, Reed would, hour and a half after you eat. Take stock here of that meal. I say it's also good to maybe do it maybe 15, 20 minutes after you eat too, kind of have a little bit of a feel both ways. So 4 things you want to think about is, first of all, are you satiated? Are you hungry again? Are you wanting more food? Do you want some sweets? Do you want something salty? Do you feel like you just didn't get enough food? You're not just feeling satisfied. So there's the satisfaction, satiation side of things to look at. Second thing you want to think about, as the person to evaluate, how's their mood? Has this meal made them irritable? Did it make them depressed? Did it make them anxious? Anything, any kind of mental, emotional feel, I guess we should say there. So first of all, satiety. Second of all, mood. Third thing to think about is just overall energy. We'll say just physical energy. Brain energy too, but physical energy. Yeah, do you feel really sluggish? Do you feel heavy? Do you feel too revved up? What are you feeling? Are you feeling like this food has been taken in and absorbed by the body, and it's you being used properly to be metabolized, and your body is being fueled by this food? Or is it a weight on your body? Is it not being utilized very well, very efficiently? So satiety, mood, energy, and then also brain function. So is your brain working well? Do you have brain fog? Do you want to take a nap? Can you not find the words? Can you not do a math problem? Can you not think through something? How is the mental function working? So if you look at all 4 of those areas and you find a meal that every one of those areas is good, well, you're going to write that meal down. As you're doing a journal, write that down. When I first was fine-tuning my metabolic type, I found 2 or 3 meals that every time I ate them, I felt amazing. We're supposed to keep variety in the diet, but for a few weeks I didn't do very much variety because I found some meals that made me feel amazing. I said, well, I'm going to repeat that over and over again because I feel really, really good. So it taught me that, hey, macros make a big difference. Certain foods make a big difference. So that's the quick way to think about that. Just maybe 20 minutes after you eat that meal, hour and a half after you eat, how are you feeling? How has the body responded? So I think that's scientific because science isn't always a blood draw or some kind of device. Science is observation, too. So that's what we're doing. We're observing as well, being a good clinician when it comes to that. And if a person, is a strong way, one way or the other, they're going to feel that difference. It's going to make quite a huge difference for that person. So hopefully that's helpful on that, just thinking about that. Start with metabolic typing, and then take them through that fine-tuning process there where they're listening to their body. And honestly, a lot of times, that's maybe the only thing I'll have them work on for a couple weeks. I mean, think about, hey, I want you to start an exercise program, go to bed on time, start taking all these supplements, and work on these dietary things. It's a lot to juggle at one time. So many times I'll just say, hey, you know what? Next couple of weeks here, let's really focus on that diet. Let's get that really nice and fine-tuned. You can feel that looking really good. Okay, and then we can add some more things because that new thing that's not on autopilot yet will become more so that way. It's a fun process. Works well. I'm a client this afternoon. I'm going to work through metabolic typing and MRT and start to fine-tune the process there. All right. I don't know, Ryan. What do you think about that? How do you think about diet, or do you work in macros into the whole process here?
I feel like that all needs to be distilled down into like a YouTube video or something, because that was so well explained and very thorough. That should have been part of the FDN training right there.
Well, maybe we'll do that. We'll cut it up and put it in there.
We can cut that out.
But cut
that out as a sound bite. We'll cut it out as a sound bite and put it over some video as a training video. There you go. Yeah.
That works.
Yeah. So I mean,
well, thanks.
Honestly, that was fantastic. The only thing I have to add to that is maybe I can just illustrate maybe some of my own personal experiences. And I, just prior to becoming an FDN and joining the training program, I had just kind of come off of being on a primarily vegetarian and or vegan diet for many years. And I can tell you that it was not working for me. I was really, really sick, and I was in denial. And then, long story short, without going into too much detail there, I did make the transition into an autoimmune paleo-type diet. And when I first started eating red meat again, and also like liver and organ meats and bone broth and that sort of thing, I just craved meat like crazy. And I was eating like a quarter pound of red meat or beef with just about every meal. And I say that because I think that there is a wisdom to listening to the body. And at the time, my macronutrient ratios were definitely skewed towards a lot of protein and a lot of fat. And I just suspect it's because my body had been missing that for so long, and had also been missing the nutrients that go along with foods in an animal-based diet, things like B12 and zinc and omega-3s and many others that are difficult to get on a vegan diet. So the interesting thing is that over time, my sort of appetite for meat kind of subsided. Not completely, of course, but after the first year or so, I wasn't craving animal protein with every meal. And, now I'm kind of to the point where I'll have like a little bit of protein with breakfast and then a larger portion with dinner, but not nearly as much as I used to. And a lot of that's just based on intuition, right? And just kind of listening to my body's needs. And, if you're, so long as you're kind of eating within a nutrient-dense, real food template, right? I think that you'll see that your body's needs can change over time, and that these kind of ideal ratios aren't necessarily fixed. And I think you more or less alluded to that throughout your discussion of the macronutrient ratios and how to incorporate those into your diet. But that's kind of been my experience, that throughout different cycles or phases of my own life, that those macros definitely do kind of shift around a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can also tell you that, I can also tell you that my body does not do well with caffeine, and so I have learned, through just a lot of trial and error, that I just can't really do caffeine. The strict cutoff point for me is about 1 p.m. And even if I have a small amount of caffeine after 1 p.m., I won't be able to fall asleep that night, even like 9 hours later. So something about my metabolism, I'm just a very slow metabolizer of caffeine. And I have to be very, very careful with that because it will disrupt my sleep. And that's something that can be helpful with clients too, to carry over that information who are, having issues falling asleep, staying asleep. It could be just caffeine consumption. It's a simple tweak too. I'll see clients, I'll look at their food journal, and I'll see they're having a piece of dark chocolate after dinner, like as a little dessert. And they've been struggling for years with sleep issues, right? And some people don't know some of these basic concepts, right? That chocolate is really high in caffeine, and if you've got sleep issues, that's a bad idea.
Yes.
So chocolate for breakfast, right? That's healthy.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Just tell them, stop eating chocolate for dinner. Just eat it with your bacon and eggs in the morning. There
you go. Sounds good to me. I'll take it. So that's the power observation there. And that's what I want people to learn and to see. And sometimes it can be really obvious, simple things like that. And sometimes, you're in the middle of it. It's your life. That's why you hire a professional to look at things from the outside and look at everything collectively. We're going to pick up on things and see things maybe you didn't, or maybe something you dismissed. Oh, no, that can't be it. That can't be making a difference. Well, maybe if we think it is, and we're encouraging you to make that change and just try it for a few days. That's what I tell people a lot of times. Try it without this food or that food for a week and just see how you feel. Oh, wow, I do feel really good without that.
And what do you have to lose, right? If the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, what do you have to lose if you already are at the rock bottom of your health? What do you have to lose by cutting out chocolate at dinner time? Aside from maybe the comfort or the predictability of certain foods that you're used to having in your diet, there can certainly be like emotional aspects to it. But at the same time, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?
True. And maybe with more sleep, maybe a lack of sleep, or maybe nutrient deficiency of some sort is why you're craving chocolate in the first place. So let's go back upstream. Let's address the root cause. Maybe it's lack of sleep, and that's what comforts you, because that's your own biochemistry. Who knows? You're right. Make some changes. And I want to go back to one point that you made there, is that when you're eating a good whole food diet, your signals aren't all messed up. When you're eating, processed food and all the different chemicals that are in foods and fast foods and refined carbs and things like that, bad fats, all those things really mess with digestion and mess with signaling chemically, electrically in the body. And so it's really hard sometimes to trust your cravings if you're eating a standard American diet, we'll just say. But if you're eating a whole food diet, it's much easier to get a feel for what you need and what you don't need. I watch it with our daughter. There'll be some weeks where she's like you, Ryan, she's like, another hamburger? Really? You want some more steak? Okay. Well, if you want it, that's good. And we go 2 weeks, and it's like, wow, she's eating more meat than I can put down. Okay. But then she'll back off there for a few weeks, and it's just, she's growing, obviously, so being an early teenager there.
More need for protein.
Growing, and yes, needs that protein. She's feeling that. It's satiating her. She's not got all these funky signals, so she's not eating a bunch of junk. And so we've trusted that intuition a lot of times, So some parents like, hey, clean your plate, eat all that. You have to eat this. We take a little different approach. Yeah, you need to eat, and she's definitely a protein type and needs protein and fat. She can't just carb out. But listening to her body and what she's saying, what she's needing, we just kind of go with it. And, it's worked really well. So we can all be in that same boat if we'll just kind of clean things up and get all the distractions, I guess, in the body out. And you can trust those signals and those cravings. So if you're craving, like you said, extra meat every single meal or some certain food, then you need to do that. And also another thing you said too there, Ryan, I think you dropped. That's right. You'll come back on. Metabolic type can change. It sure can. So it can shift and change. So, and you can retest if you want to. It's one thing. So I guess it's a clinical point here as far as practitioner goes. So if your client is sailing along, everything's going really, really good, you're seeing great shifts and changes and everything's looking wonderful, but all of a sudden something is shifting not in a good direction. and not exactly sure what it is. It could be supplementation, could be some stressors going on, could be some things going on, ask enough questions, but always go back to the fundamentals. You can always have somebody, anytime you're working with them, do a diet journal again. Fill something out for you again. Let's just take a look at your diet. You think, okay, we got this thing fine-tuned in the beginning. It's going pretty well. Don't assume that it stayed that way. I've had that happen a few times in the last month or so with some clients. We thought we were good. We thought they understood. But I said, hey, why don't you just write down what you're eating for 3 days again? Give me everything. Let's go through it. And lo and behold, they'd kind of veered away from their metabolic type and what they were doing. It's like, well, this is some simple changes we can make. Let's get this back on track here. So you can ask a person to write down what they're eating at any time. So always go back to those fundamentals, right, the diet side of things. Or you can have them retest their metabolic type, redo the test. Again, it may have shifted. It may be a really strong protein type to begin with. That does happen often. People starting to work with us, and then they'll kind of come back more toward that middle ground where they're a little more like Ryan, a little more maybe on the mixed side of things. So they can tolerate a few more carbs now than they used to. Maybe they need a little less protein than before, but the fat needs to be a little bit higher. So these all things can shift and change, and it's nothing wrong. They're trying to find that genetic metabolic type. I can't remember the phrase exactly that Bill uses there. There's a functional type that's where you are right now because of the stressors and the factors that are on your body, kind of like you, Ryan, having to go really heavy on the meat for a while. But then eventually, once the body gets more balanced, you come back to more like a genetic metabolic type, which is your true type that you'll probably more likely stay at for your whole life. You're kind of in that direction. So, yeah, there's factors to consider if there's change.
That's absolutely true. And I have some thoughts to add to that too. And, I will see, all of the kind of macronutrient discussions aside, I will see occasionally clients get stuck on the dietary piece of the healing journey. And in some instances, I see certain clients or even practitioners sometimes, to be honest, get kind of tunnel vision when it comes to their diet. And it can often be the case there that there's something else going on, right? There can be some gut infections or something inhibiting digestion and assimilation, right? So, we're not just what we eat, we're what we absorb. Right, so that's important to keep in mind too when we're getting over focused on the diet of stepping back and looking at that big picture. And one way that I'll often reassure a client that's getting stuck on the dietary piece is to say, hey, like if you're eating if you're eating, a ton of vegetables and grass-fed beef and grass-fed animal fats and wild caught, local, you're shopping at your farmer's market and all those good things, and you're still getting stuck, well, first of all, you're already ahead of 99.9% of the population if you're eating that way, right? So,
yeah.
So I'll remind the client in that case, first of all, pat yourself on the back. You're doing an amazing job of kind of fighting this uphill battle and in not feeding yourself a standard American diet anymore, right? So just that alone is a huge step in the right direction. And at that point, if you're still experiencing a lot of, and of course, I'm not discounting or discrediting at all the role of that process of monitoring macronutrient ratios and kind of monitoring that against your energy levels and your sleep and your mood throughout the day. But at the same time, if someone's continuing to hit a wall there, that's where you might suspect there's probably something deeper going on underneath the hood here. And that, the diet is just, I'll often say that it's just like one lever. The food that you eat in your diet is just like one lever in the machinery of your body. And there's also, there's all these other aspects. And I see people getting really narrowly focused on the diet, and they're forgetting, and then meanwhile, they're still getting to bed at midnight, or they're in a toxic relationship, or they have a lack of support or community in their lives, right? And these are huge, huge things, or not getting enough sunlight, right? And then they're kind of hitting themselves on the head with this diet thing, but they're forgetting about everything else. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's the approach with FDN, right? It's not one thing that we look at. It's not, FDN, of course, is not hormone drops. I get that quite a bit on the verbal final questions about, okay, how do I work in these hormone drops for people? I don't quite understand these. Just because it's an aspect of protocol, it's just one aspect of supplementation. Do we use that with every single person? No way. Many times you don't want to use that. It's not appropriate for that person. And so the net we cast is broad. It's a big, broad net. And so we're looking for as many areas we can look at as possible and hitting things in a real general, non-specific way. And I'm just still amazed at how well that does work. And it works like all the time. So if you've got to be detailed. That's part of that. But also we want to make sure we're looking at enough areas. So you run enough lab work that you get enough information to look at. You look at DRESS, every aspect of dress that you can look at there, ask questions, and then see where that goes, where it leads you. It's an amazing process. It is super cool, and hopefully, dress is something that stays in your client's mind as well. So if they don't feel well, just like you said, right? So I don't feel so good, this week. What's going on there? So they need to be coming to you thinking through dress themselves. So have they made big changes with their diet? Have they not slept really well? Some major stressful event? What about the exercise level? Too much, too little? Supplementation, did you change something there? That's the power, that's the empowerment that we're leaving our clients with, is the ability to observe their body, to think through all these different areas, and be able to be their own practitioner in a way. That's what we want on some level, as much as they can do. Yeah, good stuff.
Absolutely. Yep.
Cool.
All right. I'm working on an Instagram post that's gonna say, your diet is fine, your lifestyle sucks around your diet.
Oh, there we go. Yep, that'll get some attention.
Of course, that's not true for everybody, so don't take that the wrong way. But I just think there's a segment of the population who's eating perfectly, but they're living a high stress life, right? And so in that case, it's like, your diet is fine. It's your lifestyle that sucks around your diet.
True. That is true. That's truth. That's all right. It'll set you free. Cool. All right. Well, hey, we got about 15 minutes left in the call, guys. So if you want to jump in and make a comment on, we're kind of talking about diet mostly here today, but we might switch subjects on you. So if you want to come in and make a comment about that aspect of it, ask a question about it, please do that. 347-637-1378 is the number. Or if you have a question on another topic, it's fine too. Ryan and I, we're adaptable, we're flexible. We can handle it.
Okay.
All right. About 15 minutes, guys. So we have long answers. So if you want to jump on, now's the time. All right. So let's see. Here's one here that I will ask about. Ryan, you could probably do good with this, with the gut stuff you've been talking about lately. So it is understood that vinegar should not be consumed during a Candida cleanse. Is it due to the acidity or feeding bacteria or Candida? Are citrus fruits like lemon okay? So the whole vinegar and yeast, I guess it's a little bit controversial, or a little bit, maybe, as we say, it's biochemically individual. So, Brian, do you have an opinion on vinegar and the gut and Candida?
I've actually read, I can't recall exactly where, but I know I've come across this a number of times, that apple cider vinegar specifically, now that's going to be different from, white vinegar or distilled vinegar, but that apple cider vinegar has antibacterial and antifungal properties, and it actually might be helpful in preventing the growth of Candida or of kind of pushing it back. As far as regular old distilled vinegar, I'm actually not sure. My inclination, and I could be totally wrong here, but I personally wouldn't want to get too narrowly focused on just like one particular food with Candida, right? Without again, kind of looking at why is this person but why is this person an ideal host for Candida, right? So is their immune system suppressed? Do they have a lot of chronic stress that's driving down their secretory IgA? Are they eating a ton of carbs that are feeding the Candida, right? So those are things I would be more concerned about than whether I would just highly doubt that just that one variable, right, of whether someone's consuming distilled vinegar during a Candida cleanse is going to be the thing that messes up the whole protocol, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I agree.
I think in that case, and it also may depend on the individual, and you might need to sort of do an elimination of the vinegar, right? Like if you were really concerned about it, I think there's no harm in eliminating the vinegar, and for even just maybe a limited time, like a couple weeks or a month, and then try reintroducing it and see if it stirs something up. If it's kind of like something about the way the vinegar is feeding the Candida and causing it to produce some, I know Candida does produce a toxin called acetaldehyde, and that toxin can actually mirror the symptoms of a hangover, right? So that's just kind of a side note and sort of an interesting factoid that Candida can often replicate, or the symptoms of candidiasis or Candida overgrowth can look really similar to the symptoms of a hangover. So, think like headaches and migraines and brain fog, fatigue, allergies, right? Hopefully none of you have ever experienced a hangover if you're FDNs, right? But there's an interesting connection there, because when you have a hangover, it's essentially a buildup of acetaldehyde. And it's the same thing with Candida overgrowth. You get a buildup of that same chemical. So, the honest answer is I'm not sure. I don't know for sure, but I would not get lost in the details. Always keep that big picture in mind of supporting the immune system. Stop feeding the Candida. If the client's on a Doritos and Twinkie and Snickers bar diet, or they drink beer every night, right? I've taken on clients that are regular beer drinkers and, craft beer aficionados. And chances are usually what I'll see is Candida overgrowth, either on a GI map or an OAT test. And unfortunately, I have to break the news to them that, hey, unless you want this issue to keep coming back and you're not willing to cut out alcohol from your life, at least, 80% of the time, you're probably going to have to be doing a Candida cleanse once a year, which is, probably not a good idea. It's not the way I would recommend going about it. But that's kind of my thought on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think great answer. I agree with all that. It's a little bit controversial. That's why we've answered this question before, and we kind of get different answers sometimes depending on what you're reading. But I think you're right. It comes down to the overall big picture and then individuals. So some people, if you take it out and they feel better, or there's improvement that moves the needle for that person, okay, then it's not a good for them, at least right now. Right, so it could be something later that you work back in and reintroduce. That does happen very often, but generally apple cider vinegar, I think it's probably going to be okay in most cases. People have asked the same thing about kombucha as well, so it's kind of in the similar families, right? So we had, it's been a few years back, I guess, on a call we had interviewed, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, so it's just did a lot of kombucha work. She was big on kombucha, and we asked that question. That was one of the questions that came in: is this kombucha contraindicated for yeast overgrowth? Her answer was most of the time it's fine and actually helps the process. Now, every time if you drink kombucha, as delicious as it is, if it causes major bloating and gas and you feel crummy on it, just like anything else, maybe it's just not what you need right now.
And not to say that couldn't
change. Back to the observation. Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It's changed for me over time.
Brandon, sure, absolutely. And I used to be very, very carb intolerant. Just even small amounts of carbs would really set off my asthma and my allergies, like big time. And after I worked on healing my gut, and I was at the time dealing with H. pylori and Blastocystis hominis, they kind of showed up together. And once I worked through that 90-day protocol, after that, I tell this all the time to people, just as a kind of a remarkable, my own success story, really. And after I worked through that protocol, those symptoms were like 99% gone. And like I used to be on antihistamines, inhalers, all of that. And, no longer reliant on any of that stuff. And then, again, so tying that back to the carb intolerance, after I worked through that, I was able to introduce moderate amounts of carbs without a problem. So, yeah, these things certainly can change, right? You'll also see there's some controversy, not just around vinegar with Candida, but also just fermented foods in general. And I see the functional community 50-50 right down the middle, just split on this topic.
Yes.
You could find really compelling evidence to suggest or support either hypothesis, which to me says two things. One is that we don't really know the answer, and it's all just speculation, right? And that two, it's probably based on a personal experience with yourself or working with a client on whether they were reacting poorly to kombucha or sauerkraut or something along those lines when they were trying to get rid of the Candida. So in that case, it probably just means that some people can tolerate it and some people can't. And that's where self-knowledge sometimes can even trump theory, and to not get too in your head, too in this headspace of what, sometimes I think people get too caught up in like what should, they want these kind of prescriptive answers of like what should happen, rather than looking at their own experience as a significant data point, right? And not getting too wrapped up. Well, no, you shouldn't have vinegar. You shouldn't have fermented foods. I mean, they're really, when you kind of get down to it and you get into the nitty gritty of working with clients, there really are no absolutes. I feel like, maybe aside from the only absolute maybe is like not eating junk food, right? But there's just so much bio-individuality that comes into play. And so, that's where I don't necessarily have, when I'm working with a client that's got Candida, I don't have like, okay, this is exactly what you need to do. Here's the template. And I just slap that on everybody. That would be much easier. I wish it worked that way, but it doesn't. And that's where you have to look at their diet journal, their other, contributing hidden stressors in the body that may have been leading up to the Candida, right? Like, for example, and not to get too far off topic, but I'll often see Candida go hand in hand with heavy metals and particularly copper. And that's a little bit more of an advanced concept, so I don't want to lead anyone astray there. But if for those that kind of dive into the world of HTMA and mineral balancing and heavy metals, there could be an issue there with copper toxicity perpetuating Candida. So, in that instance, these things can get complex, and that's why we don't run just one lab. We have to look at the big picture.
A couple of huge points there that you made. I'm going to punctuate those a little bit, but what you said there about, I guess my big point is that's why experience really counts. And when you get in the trenches, working with people face-to-face, one-on-one through their programs with you, that's why you can't just learn it all by taking courses and listening to people's theories and book learning in academia when it comes to this stuff. It's cool. It's where you have to start. But like you said, when it actually gets down into real life, what's actually working there, that's why FDN is so great, is that's what it was based on. It is based on. It was getting in the trenches, working with people, thousands of clients, running thousands of labs and observing that. I mean, you can't, that's the only way to work, I think. Lab tests and studies are cool, and doing all that stuff is part of it. But the observation, what you're seeing, what actually works in real life, that's what we're after. So proving a theory is great, but we're after the practical. Is it making a change in this person's life? So that's why I always encourage people, get your first 10 clients, focus on that, get people and start working with them. Yeah, we've got great advanced courses and cool stuff on AFDNP, lots of training you can continue to do, but to really get to that top-level practitioner, you have to be working with people on a regular basis. That is the key. And also that anything is possible when it comes to a response to food or to a supplement or whatever that you're doing. So people might say, I've had clients before say, do you think this could be causing this? My answer is like, yeah, anything is possible. So, but that's when you want to make some course correction, make some adjustments, pull some things out and observe. So I've had things that people expect, some die-off from a pathogen protocol, or some, when you pull out all the junk out of your diet, you can feel kind of crummy for a few days and have, a bunch of bowel movements and kind of clean out, and you think, what's going on with my body here? I'm supposed to feel better. Those things, you kind of expect some of that to go on with things, but also there can be random reactions to supplements that you have never seen before. But by observation, pulling those out, listening to that person's not lying to you. They actually think that is what's causing it. So pull it out, make some observations. Okay, it looks like that is causing that particular response. Sometimes you could figure out why that's happening, why that's going on. Other times you don't know. It's a little too complex or just not clear. So we just know right now we don't need to do that. So yes, anything is possible as far as what the body can react and how it can respond to different things that we're doing. So how about that for black and white?
Yeah, I love that you said that, Brandon. I'm so grateful that you made that point. It really is just about, I've learned the most just from diving in, even sometimes when I felt in over my head. But, as the saying goes, pressure makes diamonds. And necessity is the mother of invention. There's another one for you, right? So sometimes just throwing yourself into the deep end and is the best way to learn, because it'll really put a fire under your butt. I know we got to be PG here on this channel, and it will, inspire you to find the answers. Reach out to other FDNs in your community. Take on those MDB consults to get some more in-depth clinical knowledge with myself or Whitney or other clinical advisors, and you'll be able to help people, right? Like you don't necessarily need to have all the answers all the time. You won't, right? And if you're waiting to have all the answers, you'll never end up having a successful business, and you'll never end up working with clients. So like one of my own personal mantras when I am coming across some resistance or some fear even, around working with a tricky client is that, be afraid, but do it anyway. Right? Like it's okay. It's human and it's natural to, experience a little bit of, a little bit of fear or tension or anxiety around getting started. That's totally natural, but do it anyway. I know it sounds easier said than done, but another one of my favorite sayings, I'm not sure who it can be attributed to, but is everything you want is on the other side of fear.
Exactly. I wish we had another hour to talk about all this, don't we?
I love talking about all the mindset stuff too. We should just have a focus around that one week.
It is. It's powerful. We will. Maybe we'll just do that. I'll find a question that starts and ask about that, and we'll just talk the whole hour about it. How about that?
Awesome. Perfect.
Cool. All right. Well, I'm getting the warning that we got 60 seconds left, so not much longer here in the call. So we'll wrap it up here for today. So we got through a couple questions. Ryan, we did good, and we don't cover a lot of questions, but maybe we cover them thoroughly enough and chase a few rabbits and go off on a trail here or there. But we hear that it's helpful. So I get a lot of good feedback about this call and the torch that we're going to carry here with this call every week, and it's helping folks. And so we're happy to do it each week with you guys. So All right. Well, guys, we'll say bye and have a good weekend, and we'll also say congratulations to our 8 graduates there this week: Christine, Luba, Kim, Heather, Denise, Simona, Jennifer, and R2. And Ryan, thanks for being on with me, man. I think next week maybe flying solo, so we'll talk about plans for that. Maybe we'll read on. So, guys, you guys tune in next week, and we'll answer some more questions. Enjoy the weekend, everyone.
Have a
Talk
great
to you
weekend,
soon.
everybody.